What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Bodacious Rant with your awesome and handsome host, Burn and Rye. And I'm going to keep saying handsome because I know I am, okay? Burn, yeah, he's there. And anyways,
I'm just here.
Yes, Burn, and that means you stay quiet. Thank you very much. We were just talking about J. Jonah Jameson, the Spider-Man movie, so I was channeling my inner J. Jonah Jameson. But today, that's not tonight. It's today. It's the day. This ends tonight. It's daytime, you douche. We are talking some more Mando episode 4 of season 3, aka chapter 20. And this is a spoiler review as always, so please do not forget to give us a like, ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We do appreciate the following, want to keep it growing, and we just love talking, nerding out with everybody. So keep it coming. So this season's actually been flowing pretty well. I know we had last episode with the whole, I know people had their critique of it breaking up, and I kind of did, like, from Mando's story to Dr. Pershing, and episode 1 being kind of whatever. But honestly, I feel like it's, with the Mando story, it's kind of flowing pretty well in my opinion. And it was nice to see more of the covert so far. Given that, we saw they have their own actual open space now, so we're kind of seeing more of their daily life. Because I remember in season 1, we never knew what they did. I kind of figured they was hanging out in sewers and looking awesome and lingering and stuff like that. So,
yeah, they were just kind of hiding away, and like you said, in the sewers of Navarro. And now they're hiding away in the caves of Space Australia, where everything around them wants to kill them, and they're almost succeeding.
Seriously, it's kind of like, Avatar, After Earth, or, all those great science movies that everything wants to kill you in the future and in space and shit. So, like Australia, everything's out there is deadly. And,
Get a bug bite, boom, dead.
my cousin Burberry, boop, dead. But, like I said, I like seeing that the training of the not only just the already part of the members of the Watch, but also the foundlings and stuff. The little kids are learning how to fight, and I think Grogu, I think this is the episode where we finally really see him kind of start to embrace the Mandalorian culture to a certain extent, just because, Din volunteers him to do some training with the foundling from the first episode, the one who just got his helmet. And I like that, like a little kid, he's like, how come he gets to fight? And it's like, why isn't he wearing a helmet? Why do I have to wear this? And it's like, well, because he can't say the creed yet. So until he can say it, he doesn't have a helmet. Like, he's too small to fight. And it's like, well, you can judge him after this, essentially. And, Grogu keeps getting shot. But I love he did his little Yoda flip. I just kept thinking of episode 2. I was like, oh, adorable. Where's the little Yoda's war scream, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess whatever species they are, they do like their flips. They use it to good effect. It's kind of funny. Like, every time it flips, it looks like it's very apparent that it's a puppet, being flipped over and stuff. But I guess it's just part of the charm. Like, I just enjoy seeing this thing like flinging itself around. At least he's mobile now. He's not confined to that little baby Karen. He can move around now, even though every time he waddles away, the poor fella's like panting for his life. Just, I mean. He's got tiny legs. What is he going to do?
Oh, my God. I mean, I feel like given that he is a puppet, I feel like it's one of those things that kind of species, that alien species, is so small that it's always going to look like a puppet regardless, because they're just, there's no room for them to move. They have nowhere to move. So I just like that he owned up that kid, kind of like, kind of shut that kid up a little bit. Like, hey, don't judge a book by its cover. This little fucker has saved Din more times than you can count, buddy. But then seconds later, a fucking giant weird space vulture shows up, like you said, Space Australia, which I think is the perfect description for this. Swoops that kid up, and I'm like, oh shit. There you go. I kind of thought of that scene in Madagascar where it's like you see the little rodent like kind of get attacked by a snake, walks out of the bush, like, oh, okay, I'm good. And then by the bird, oh, come on.
I mean, that's pretty much how it is, man. You got like a crocodile like in the river in there, and now you got these pterodactyls that are just picking you off. And it seems like he's not the first kid. Like they mentioned, like, they usually take him and stuff. It's like when you hear some things like that, it's like it's just wild. It's like saying like this is the second time I've been mugged by a paraplegic clown. Like, second time?
A paraplegic clown? Jesus Christ! What the hell?
It's like something so wild. Just not again.
No, it was a paraplegic, but the clown part got me. That's just too good, bro. That's just.
It's like it's crazy that it happened once, but that there's a pattern here. It's concerning.
It's like how you guys are the Death Watch. You're some of the most heavily armed people in all of Star Wars lore. You're telling me you can't kill some giant ass crocodile or some giant fucking birds? Like, what is all this shit for, man? You have rockets. The Paz Vessel has a fucking minigun. Doesn't do shit.
Like if you were there, I'd just be like, they got another kid.
Dude, that's the third one this week. It's like, this week alone.
This week? Like, this is bad. This is not going well for them.
We'd be like those normal bounty hunters just in this group, like hanging out, just like, how do you guys not do anything? This has happened repeatedly? What the hell's the matter with you guys? Why would you move to another spot where there isn't these creatures? So it's just...
It's like Ice Age. What was it? Like, there goes our last female.
Oh, yeah, the stupid
like,
dodo birds.
No.
Oh, my God.
The dodo birds, that's what it was.
So dumb. But anyways, and I thought it was interesting, like... I mean, before we continue more with like the story, because like they had the big like rescue and stuff like that. I thought the Grogu scene again hit home really well, where the armor is actually shown being way nicer. Partially just because I think Din redeemed himself and stuff, so she's now treating Grogu with respect. Like, well, come little one, like you have much to learn if you're gonna be a Mandalorian, and letting Bo-Katan like come on in like super easy. I thought that was a great scene where she's like, the life of Mandalorian is much like the Forge. Like, you need heat, you come from raw materials, take adversity, and then you become something beautiful, essentially. And Grogu's little trauma scene was just this. It's so sad because, yes, he's like almost 100 years old, but he's still a baby. So for all the shit he's been through already is pretty sad. Like when he relived the Order 66. And every time you see the 501st, I'm like, God damn it, Captain Rex, this is so sad. Look what your clones have done to the world. But you know what? One of the best things about this is that the Jedi who saved him in the end, he kind of reminded me of the actor from Black Panther and This Is Us. I keep forgetting his name. Is it?
Oh, Daniel Kaluuya?
No, not Daniel Kaluuya. The other one. T'Challa's brother, in the beginning, was it Sterling Donald? What's?
Oh, Sterling K. Brown.
Thank you. I knew it's Sterling in it. He kind of looked like him for a second. I was like, that's not Sterling K. Brown. It looks like him, but we find out that it's the actor who played Jar Jar Binks from the original the prequel trilogy, not the original trilogy. Who am I kidding? And I thought
Ahmed Best.
And I thought that was great because he had a hard time when the prequels came out, specifically Episode 1. And I think I remember reading something like he thought about suicide because of all the shit he got.
Oh yeah.
So it was nice seeing him as a badass Jedi in this episode, and just goes to show him like, dude, people just gotta relax. If the actor sucks, then okay, move on. Don't keep bringing them down with this stuff just because there are still people too. They have jobs to do, and they learn from their mistakes. Like Ahmed Best fucking killed it this episode, in my opinion. What did you think, Bern?
Yeah, I mean, fandoms can be pretty crazy, but Star Wars is pretty notorious for having one of, if not the worst, and that's why they're coined the fandom menace. I'm not talking about just the entire fandom. I'm talking about the particular like toxic, angry fandom that harass these actors. I mean, just recently with Reva and Kelly Marie Tran. And yeah, originally with Ahmed Best and I forget the actor's name that played the young Anakin in Episode 1 also. But yeah, these were actors who have been harassed and have gone on record saying like how it's really messed up their state of minds and really affected their mental health. So the fact that the creators here gave Ahmed Best a chance to not redeem himself, because in my opinion he didn't do anything wrong. He did the job that George Lucas asked him to do, which was to play Jar Jar Binks, and he was directed in the way and the creator was made a certain way and he did the job, and that's all he did. So it's cool that at least he gets his name tied to something different in the live action form. So now when people think of him, if they won't immediately associate with Jar Jar Binks, it's this character now here. Kellerin Beck, yeah. And he's a badass Jedi, you know, and he's the one who saves Grogu. So it's just a cool way for the creators here to sort of like pay it forward, you know, and do right by the actor that unfortunately had a bad outcome in the original in his original role.
Yeah, for all the fucked up shit Hollywood really does to actors and just people in general, there are those few silver linings that, you know, people get. They do pay it forward, and people do get their just rewards. Like the Oscars, how Brendan Fraser finally got an Oscar, Michelle Yeoh. I keep forgetting the guy who played Indiana Jones and it was in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Ke Huy Quan.
He finally got something after all these years. And there was one more person I really can't think of right now. Who else won the Oscar? It was like for...
You talking about Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis. Thank you. Like all four of them, pop culture icons in their own way. And, you know, Michelle Yeoh making history as the first Asian actor to win an Academy Award, which is just, it's heartwarming. So, and I mean, that's just an example. That's a few examples of like Hollywood actually, like, you know what, pay the respect that's due. And Ahmed Best proved himself, I feel like, in Star Wars, that dude, he's not just a bumbling alien. He can be a badass character. So, much props to that. And I love that the armor made Grogu something. She wasn't just making something for anybody. She made him his own little chest plate, his little baby shield. I thought was adorable with the mud horn, and she's like,
yeah, to go over his little chainmail armor. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's like, you know, the more you learn, the more you'll acquire. Like, but you gotta keep learning, and you just keep moving forward, like you're, you know, like Din has told you. And I think that just that little shot of him like looking at it and looking up is like, again, I think it's a signifying that he's definitely coming around to be more of a Mandalorian. So I thought that was great.
One thing I wanted to ask you, how willing do you think Grogu is sort of like wanting to be like a Mandalorian? Because, I mean, you know, he can't talk, so he can't really communicate that well. But do you think like being a Mandalorian is something that he wants to do, or do you think it's more of just he wants to be around Din? Just because like in the beginning of the scenes where, you know, he's telling him to do that whole little like taser duel with the kid, you know, he seems a little bit like apprehensive and not sure he wants to do it. I did like that moment where Bo-Katan told me, hey, my dad was like this too, you know, like very proud of you and like expected high things of you, but it didn't seem like it was something that he wanted to do. And, you know, him getting this flashback is like, it seems like being in this situation is bringing up some old past memories. So do you think that's something that he's just trying to push past, or do you think it's more of like, oh, you know, he was kind of forced into being a Jedi? We don't really know the backstory of that too much, but it seems like when you're a kid that shows Force abilities, you kind of get thrown into the Jedi way. Is he just kind of being thrown into the Mandalorian way now just because he's with Din?
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the hypocritical things with like the Jedi and Star Wars lore, that yeah, if you've showed Force abilities, they essentially not stole you, but they kind of robbed you of ever having another life outside of this, just because they feared, oh, you'll be an enemy for us, or something like that. I think it's mostly preventing any more Sith like growing and stuff. So I think that's one of the almost villainous, very gray area of the Jedi. And honestly, that's a very good question. I didn't really think about it that way, but yeah, no, I think he just wants to be with Din because that's essentially his father right now, his father figure. So it's one of those things, like, I think he's just kind of doing it just because but he has shown promise with the Force that when he gets angry, he does want to hurt people, but in the end, it's always he's defending the people he cares about. So it's one of those things that he may not want to fight, but, you know, Din just being supportive, and that's just his culture. Like, you know, that's what he was brought up as a kid. Like, this is what I had to do to survive, and I want you to learn this because you're a part of my life, and this is it. And so that'll be very interesting to see, depending how many more seasons they want to do. Like, will Grogu want to keep doing the Mandalorian thing, or does he just want to live his life with his dad? You know, Din essentially. I'm gonna call him his dad. Why not? And it's a very problematic thing, but I think like most parents, when they like something like sports or maybe some sort of like line of work, they want you to absorb it, you know, whether it be something about cars or baseball,
That's
basketball.
a perfect way of putting
it.
It's
just one of those things. You kind of do what your parents want you to do, and you either learn to love it or you don't like it and you'll never do it again. So I'm very curious to see what that happens. But That's a good question, Bern. You're quite intelligent this evening. I respect that. Not that you're never intelligent, but you have very few moments. I worked with.
I'll take the
I've
win.
worked with some. I've worked with better, but not a lot. I remember that.
In comparison to others,
Just
okay.
overall, yeah. But the rest of the episode is pretty cool. Where we kind of see Bo. I feel like even though she's not as crazy about. She's not as what's the word I'm looking for? Not zealot. What's the word? Oh, she's not a fanatic like the cult, like the members of the Watch are. But I like that she's asking Din, like, so what do you guys do if you eat? Like, do we take off our helmets? What do we do? And she's like, no, you have to find a spot to eat, and you take off your helmets. Like, that makes sense. But I like how even Paz Vizsla was like, no, you've earned this. Like, since you're leading us, you sit by the fire. We'll go away. And it was nice to see Katie Sackhoff's face again, just because I feel like it's already been so long since we have only like an episode. Well, actually, about 2 episodes now, and she still has that face of like uncomfortable feeling. Like she's not sure where she stands. Like, is she really gonna stay here? Is this just, it was a good sense of like, okay, well, I'm gonna eat now and just kind of navigate this. I thought the rescue was pretty crazy. I don't know if this is just me overpicking it, but let me see what you thought. Did you think it was funny that when they were going up the rocks and stuff, how they couldn't use their jetpacks, that all those guys were really huffing and puffing, and she was dead quiet, like going up, because it's like she's kind of more resourceful in that way. Like, I think more of a. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just reading into it or just being super picky with them.
Well, I guess it makes sense because she did say that she used to climb those mountains as like for training as a kid, so she's kind of used to it, I guess. So I think that's what that line of dialogue was for beforehand. Like, hey, we can scale the mountain. This is something I used to do, a lot when I was younger. Not that mountain necessarily, but like doing that as a young kid. So I think that's kind of why she's a little bit more adept at doing that, and at least I think, I don't know.
I mean, this is why I was asking, because I kind of saw it as that because she's a true Mandalorian compared to most of them, maybe besides the armor and Vizsla and maybe a handful of those other Watch members, that she's more of a warrior and a little more adapted to certain things, where all they kind of know is just using their technology and hand-to-hand combat, but she's kind of overall a athletic person. Like, she knows how to climb the mountains, she's a great pilot, she does all this and that. So I don't know, that's what I was thinking, but I just want to make sure I'm not being maybe like a dick about it, is the best way I could put it.
No, I mean, I think that read is definitely not like something you're making up, because I think at least within the first few episodes they're actually doing a lot to sort of like say that, visually. I mean, you just look at episode 2 and how different her and Din are with her, when she's using the Darksaber. It all just comes naturally to her. She's very like used to like the way where Din struggles with it. So it's like, yeah, it calls into question, what does it truly mean to be a Mandalorian? Because in the ways that, Din thinks of it, she's really like succeeding at it with very little effort. It seems like she's really about this life, where at him, he's kind of stumbling his way through it, So yeah, I think they're making very clear choices to show that that Bo is like really, really good at this stuff, and it just comes naturally to her because yeah, she grew up with in this society, basically, a society that's gone now, but she grew up in it nonetheless.
Yeah, she was definitely the more warrior compared to her sister, who's like the politician of the family. So I like seeing her shine in this department a little bit. But the raptor part was pretty. I like that they called them raptors. I'm like, yeah, I guess they're just more like bald birds. They're more like giant vultures, in my opinion. But that's neither here nor there. I thought that not only were they way more massive than them, but I thought the one of the things that caught me really by this episode was when Paz went to go rush for the heat signature. He's like, "It's my son," and it's like, I didn't think the members of the Watch could have children that way, in all honesty, because I know like Vizsla comes from the line of Vizsla's, like his dick brother or father, whoever he was in the original Clone Wars and stuff like that. And so, and this is where my thought comes in before we finish this up, was that I think him and the Armorer had the kid together, but they managed to reserve their emotions really well. Given she didn't say anything about it, but the reason why I thought that way is because it clicked when the kid had the same color helmet, like same colors that he dons, and the fact that he got emotional. Was like, no, this is my son, not just the foundling. And him and the armor had been together since season 1, since the very beginning. And we found a book of Boba Fett. They were still hanging out together. Given he could just be a glorified bodyguard for her, or very loyal to her. But that was my guess. I don't know if you thought about that at all, Bern.
I mean, I didn't think about it until you said it, in our conversations before this recording. It's like, yeah, like when you look back at it, you're right. Every single instance we've seen one or the other, they've been together, like in the episodes that they're in. So it would kind of make sense that there's a relationship between the two. Like you said, they haven't really shown any like outward affection, so it could be one of those things where they're hiding it really well in public. But yeah, like this kid didn't just come out of nowhere, and the way he talked about it and saying that's his son. Again, this just may just be like a block in my knowledge of Star Wars, but I don't think you refer to your foundlings or like kids you bring into it that aren't your own. I don't think you refer to them as your son or your daughter. Like I think it would have to be like his blood. Yeah, and that the helmet being the same color too, being very particular. Like yeah, this is probably his blood. This isn't like a foundling that he picked up. This is actually his kids. So I mean he had have it with someone, and then one person we've seen him with all these years is the armorer. So how old do you think the kid is? He looked like probably like around like what, maybe like 10 years old at some point.
Yeah,
So
like at least 8 to 11 in that range for sure.
yeah,
Old enough to
he would have
obviously,
been born.
yeah, old enough obviously to take the creed and start training like a warrior. So yeah, old enough.
Yeah, so he would have been born before the start of the series. So that's what there's just kind of like my gap where I'm like, okay, we never saw the armor pregnant, but the kid looked old enough to have been born before the show started. So I mean, there is some merit to that theory. I wouldn't toss it aside because it could be the case. I think, or he could just have a kid with someone else that we just have not met.
I mean, but I feel like that's a porn parody situation. Like you can't take your helmet off for anybody, so you left it on, but took everything else off, or. Again, I know Pornhub or something is going to hop on this real quick. Or if they haven't already. So.
Step foundling, what are you doing?
Oh no. This is the way. Yes, it is. It's like, oh, God, no. Like, this.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Bern, you need to leave. You need to give me a few minutes, please. I got to see where this is going.
Get out.
It's happening. It's happening. But I like that they end up saving the kid, and I thought it was fucked up they killed the adult raptor, because I was like, that thing had that had 3 children back in its nest, and you just killed this parent. Like, it's kind of fucked up. Like, I was like, I don't know, that was just the circle of life, like giving us a whole circle of life thing.
I mean, that thing was apparently killing their kids, their families.
But
so
that's just like nature, though.
Circle.
Like, I mean, given its nature for the parent to eventually die, and the parent, I'm just saying it was fucked up regardless. But I like when they.
It's a cycle of violence, right? It just goes around in circle.
That's not like a triangle. Or a square, because that is place. This one's a big circle.
It's a big circle.
But I like that they ended up that when they came back and they're all cheering for him and stuff. She's like, "Well, now we have 3 new foundlings for the watch," and they ended up bringing up the raptors. I was like, "Oh, thank God!" I feel a little bit better about the decision. Like now, it's like cool. We have some mounts here. It's not a mythosaur, but hey, these are 3 birds for those who deserve it. So I thought that was cool. And then Bo is finally opening up. Interesting, it was to the armor, because she was making her a new shoulder pad. I thought it was cool. I just like that Bo, even though she was hypocritical, like not hypocritical, but like making fun of the whole thing, that she had the confidence and the eagerness to ask like the armor, like, hey, what would it be okay if I had the mythosaur along with the night owl? She's like, any Mandalorian can have it, regardless of what their sigil is. That's welcome upon all of us. And the armor never acknowledged the fact that it's like, what if I saw the mythosaur? It's like, well, one takes the creed, everybody sees anything. It's like, no, she literally saw the damn thing. And it's kind of, now it kind of does beg the question, was the mythosaur real? Was she tripping out because she had that, because she's like the convert, like last episode, that she kind of found her inspiration again in the Mandalorian culture, like the true Mandalorian culture. So I mean, I still think she saw it, that was real, and that just the armor, she's either never seen it, or maybe she's not Mandalorian and she never bathed in the waters like that. So I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just kind of like like this comparison doesn't. I don't mean to be like like mean about it or anything, or like I don't mean to like be dismissive of it, but like if you told like a religious person like I just witnessed a miracle, they'd probably be like, yeah, of course you did. Like that's the things just happen like that. We walk the path of our religion, and you see miracles happen every day. But like no, literally, I saw a miracle. Like it was real. Like I'm not like making things up in my mind or like connecting things I don't connect, but so that was kind of like one of those things where they're like, yeah, she saw the actual thing, and the armor was just kind of like, yeah, like we see these things all the time, and when we walk the path, it's like, no, 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 no. Like I saw the real thing. So I thought that was interesting. Again, I really like the framing of like how this is like a religion to them and all that. So I just like making those connections. But yeah, it's like now that Bo is opening up to the armor of all people, I think she thinks of her, and I think like a lot of the people think of her as like the one that has the answers, and it seems like, I mean, I don't know if this is the way they're going to frame it going forward, but it seems like she doesn't really know like everything, like she probably hasn't seen a mythosaur at any point, which it would tracks, like people haven't seen it in a long time, but it's one of those things, like a lot of the things that she said in the past haven't really been the truth, or haven't been real, like in like the real sense, like how she said, Mandalore was cursed and all that, and it wasn't, like Din was able to go there and bathe in the water, so there are like holes in her in the things that she says, so it'll be interesting to see how like the characters start picking away at that and sort of like take it away at her credibility, or if they're going in a different route where, I mean, she knows a lot, but obviously she doesn't know everything.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I kind of hope she doesn't turn like a villainous character where it's like she's full of shit and she just starts hating everybody who doubts her, kind of thing. I think it is one of those things, like a lot of members of the Watch and who weren't born on Mandalore or anything like that. She doesn't know everything, not due to ignorance, but that's just the stuff she's heard. So that's what, like half of them are heard about. Like, well, the planet's like toxic, we can't be there. It's like, no, Din proved you wrong on that, so it is there. We can win it back. Like, even Boba Fett was like, Mandalore, that place is garbage now. Like, it's destroyed. So even he thought it's gone too. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But anything else pop out at you this episode that caught your eye, or do we cover it all?
Mm-hmm. Well, just to continue on that last point, it's just like who does that benefit? Like the idea of Mandalore not being habitable, like it keeps the Mandalorians like splintered, like it keeps like a particular thing in power. So is it like Empire propaganda, or could it be like her just trying to hold on to power over the covert or something? If they're gonna go the villain route, I could see that being the case, where she wants to maintain leadership of the group, and she can't do it if people are gathering at this place and looking for someone else to lead, probably someone with the dark saber at that point. But yeah, just interesting things to think about, where does she have nefarious motivations, or is it just as she says, and like you mentioned, like she knows a lot, but obviously she doesn't know everything,
Well, that's very fair. We have to see how the rest of the season plays out. We have probably about 4 or 5 more episodes, because they usually finish around, they've been finished around like 8 or so, right? Or does it go to 12 or 13?
Yeah, no, I believe it's like only 8 episodes, so I think we're at the halfway point now.
They better start moving some shit. I need to see some fights here, some Mandalorian fights, people. But guys, what did you think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it kind of meh? Was there more you wanted to see? Are you curious to see what Grogu's gonna do? What about those raptors? What did you think about the vultures? We'd love to know. But until next time, again, guys, John Wick Chapter 4 is coming out, and I'm very excited to see it. Partially just, I think it's going to be very bittersweet because Lance Reddick recently passed this week, who was the concierge, the guy with the nice accent who's just like, it was a pleasure having you with us, Mr. Wick. So that's going to be pretty hard to watch, and I know Keanu and all of them were like, no, we're dedicating this movie to him. So that's coming out this week, so stay tuned for that review. I am super excited to see it. And until then, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for both of us.
Exactly, everybody. Be good, be safe, and as always, we'll catch y'all on the next one.